Now, we will not get to all of your questions. There's not enough time on the video. If you have questions on the NFL, probably not life advice. I'm not exactly a role model. Then DM me. DMs are open at @WhatGoingDowney. First up from Lore, should the Niners sign Tyler Boyd because they are interested in him? I'm not opposed to it. I think bringing back Jawan Jennings kind of makes me think that they're in pretty good shape, all things considered. Cheap veteran deals for starting caliber players, sure. That doesn't, bother me at all necessarily, but I do think that they're in decent enough shape in terms of where they currently sit in the wide receiver room. Nick Powell, maybe the Giants sign Julian Blackmon. News here as we film today's live show, the Colts have re-signed Julian Blackmon. So cross him off your list if you had interest in him in the free agency market. He is not available. Richard Iacocco, Michigan fan number 1. What UFL player should the Bears sign? I will be honest, I am so deep into draft study, I'm not watching the UFL right now. I will revisit. I know the one kicker made that super long try. I think Luis Perez, as I said before, should still have interest as like a backup quarterback, as a third string quarterback in some capacity. But I don't have a great answer for you in terms of UFL because I haven't been watching it. From Aaron, will the Niners move Brandon Aiyuk? I don't think they end up trading him. I have always believed that much like the Debo deal and other deals, the Bosa deal, they'll get that done before the start of the NFL season. They've budgeted for it. The receiver market's strong. Maybe they pay Aiyuk and structure the deal in a way that one of Kittle or Debo's contracts are off the books by then. And that starts to make sense. Now, I know that teams will be calling about Brandon Aiyuk because it would be weird if they won't. Or if they weren't, because it's a good football player. Teams want to acquire good football players. But I think the path is it's an A.J. Brown type of move. And I think the Niners thought it was a bad idea for Tennessee. So I think in the end, no, they don't trade him. What do you think ends up happening? Will the Niners trade Brandon Aiyuk? It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Y for yes, N for no. From Cameron Briglin, well, I think the Bears will likely draft a wide receiver and safety in the first 2 rounds this year. I think that's possible. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you're right. Those are needs for them. I think that the draft should shape up decently to go receiver round 1, safety round 2. But I would always be hesitant to lock in positions this even day of the draft because weird stuff happens every single year. So you got to be, adjustable to what ends up happening. From Archangel, thoughts on the Falcons trading back, and if so, what team have willing to trade up to the number 8 with the Falcons? Number one thing is what quarterbacks are on the board. Are the top 4 gone, or is there one still available? If so, it seemed like the Vikings, Raiders, Broncos could all jump up to number 8 to get that quarterback if they want one of those top 4 players. I don't think they trade up for the 5th guy, but crazy stuff happens. And then if the QBs are gone, who's left? Is the top defensive player still there? Is one of the receivers still there? If so, a team could try to jump to the Bears in that capacity. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. March is over, but the biggest moments in college basketball tip off in the month of April. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks for both men's and women's college basketball. Prize Picks has something for every sports fan. Basketball, hockey, League of Legends, and everything else in between. You pick LeBron, Caitlin Clark, Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry if you so choose, or you can stick to one specific sport. It's more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Get them right, and you win. I would always advise the flex play. It's a lower payout, but if you get one wrong, you're fine. Here's my NFL season-long Prize Picks entry. In general, for season-long stuff, Injuries kind of factored into the player stat projection. So if they're healthy, take the more than. Plus, life is too short to take the less than. I got more than Patrick Mahomes passing yards, Dak Prescott passing yards, CeeDee Lamb, more than touchdowns, and more than Micah Parsons sacks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, folks. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. A $5 super chat from KB82, a clearly Broncos fan. Thoughts on Byron Murphy II at 12 to Denver? I have no faith in these quarterbacks, at least not first-round faith. Understandable. I wouldn't be mad at it. I'm very curious what Denver does. They could just punt on a quarterback this year, by the way, and see what happens next year. I think Sean Payton has great job security, especially if the plan is to kind of rebuild a little bit, but does he want to do that? They're kind of in a weird spot. Dark horse contender, Brock Bowers? Give him his own version of Jimmy Graham as a playmaker over the middle? I think that could be very intriguing. It's a good question, though, KB. I would not be mad at Byron Murphy. I like Johnny Newton more, but Murphy's a top 20-ish player for me, and he's probably the first interior guy taken along that defensive line. Roy Williams, it's sad that the Jones boys care more about tickets and jersey sales winning a Super Bowl. Make Tom Downey the GM. I completely agree with this mindset, Roy. Thank you. From Steven, CBS and the Bucs could trade Chris Godwin. Thoughts? No. The Bucs' entire plan was, let's win with Baker right now, right? NFC South's not very good. Let's run it back. Why would they trade away Chris Godwin? Oh, they paid Mike Evans. Well, yeah, they've paid both those guys multiple times. I saw the article you are mentioning there, Steven. I don't think it makes any sense. They're going to keep him. Now, maybe they lose him in free agency down the road, but he's not going to get traded. I'd be blown away. So name a player you think gets traded. Probably not Chris Godwin. Other player. Sound off with that player name in the comments. Luke Malloy, should Pittsburgh draft Amarius Mims or Jackson Powers Johnson? My answer there is either. I think you'd be pretty happy with it. I would say that center is maybe a bigger need. I don't know, Nate Herbig. Does that make you feel good about your center? You can and have survived with Dan Moore and Broderick Jones. Now, the medicals on Jackson Powers Johnson have got to be checked out. So with Mims, too. Both those guys have battled injuries, and Mims has missed so much time in college. JPJ has an alleged hip issue that I've heard about. So I think you got to check the medicals there. Both guys, though, would be good picks. Platinum Edition. Real possibility, Saints land Bowers or Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. Yeah, I would not be surprised at all there. Trevor Penning has not been very good, unfortunately. Ryan Ramczak's got the injury. Tight end, you saw some flashes from some of your guys, but those guys would be BPA, and I think there's a good chance one of those two is there. In which case, those are good picks by the Saints. If you want more NFL news and rumors, you have come to the correct spot. Plus, like mailbags. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. From Amy, best quarterback prospect who can follow and be mentored by Aaron Rodgers. Thanks in advance. Spencer Rattler? Can you get him on day 3? I'm kind of thinking day 3 guys because the Jets have to spend their day 2 picks on helpful pieces. Some people like Michael Pratt. People like Jordan Travis. I've got Rattler over those guys. Someone will convince themselves they can fix Joe Milton. He's going to be a tight end in the NFL. He's just not accurate. It's never going to change. He's Tyree Jackson all over again. So maybe you can find one of those day 3 guys to try to develop and mentor. Antonio, you think Justin Jefferson go to a different team after this year with the Vikings? I don't think so. I think the Vikings, to be quite blunt, I think the Vikings would be stupid to not pay him. This is one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's made bad quarterbacks productive in Minnesota. Not Kirk Cousins, but other guys. You pay him. You get that deal done. Whatever the number looks like, 30, 32. I don't even care if it's 33. Just pay him. Just constantly backload it because he's going to be a 10-year player for you. Get that deal done. From Mike, or from Mark. I don't know why the hell I said Mike. Probably because there's Penix on there, I guess. Will a team trade in the back of round 1 for a QB to get the 5th-year option, like a Bo Nix or a Penix? Certainly possible. I will say, I categorize the trade back into round 1 for a QB is one of the bigger draft myths that's out there. 5th-year option's been around for a long time. The 5th-year option guys, Lamar Jackson, several seasons ago, Paxton Lynch, Teddy Bridgewater, and that kind of is it. There aren't actually that many times it happens. It could happen. Tennessee did try to go get Will Levis at the back of round 1 last year. Ended up having to settle for day 2. But it doesn't happen all that frequently. So it's very possible, but if you're a team like the flip side is here, you typically know before the 5th-year option if that's going to be your guy or not. You saw with this class, right? They've all been moved on from already. You know, before the 5th-year option decision is even made, or this most recent 5th-year option class. So I tend to not buy that theory more often than not. So how many quarterbacks end up going in round 1? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. Hungry Panda Studios. How well does Chop Robinson do as a day 1 starter? He's a tough one for me. You know, I think in terms of like scouts say they want to see the elite trait. There's no easier elite trait to see on defense than Chop Robinson's burst. He is off the ball with an incredible amount of force and speed. It is truly a sight to behold. I mean, you'll see guys like not even out of their stance, and he's pushing into the offensive lineman already. I don't love him as a run defender. And the biggest thing for me is you are such a freak athlete. How'd you have 4 sacks this season? Like, you should have been way more productive. So, kind of like Odafe Owe for me. There will be flashes. There will be moments of impressive plays. The consistency probably won't be there in year 1. From Cy Gray, I think Detroit trades up for an edge or corner, down for more draft capital on day 2, or stand pat and draft BPA. I'd probably bet they end up going BPA. That could be an edge or a corner still. Depending on what happens with Frank Ragnow, dark horse offensive line option. But I know there was some whispers of maybe retirement. I don't think that's going to be the case. But anyway, make note of it. Dark horse impact receiver. Big body on the outside could be a lot of fun for them. With Jameson as the speed guy, Amon-Ra as the slot, and big guy on the outside. Kind of sounds fun. I think stand pat BPA would be my guess right now for the Detroit Lions.